Hi, good afternoon, everyone. Hi, I think I can see most people towards the back. Welcome to the first seminar for this afternoon. Target more visitors and new markets. So before I get going, just first a quick introduction. My name is Jo Fennell. I'm from Get Your Guide. I'm the regional manager for UK and Ireland. With me today, I have Hugo Santos, who's our senior destination manager, focused primarily and pretty much purely on our markets in Scotland. So he's had a lot of experience, maybe talking to some of you already in the audience this afternoon. Together we're going to take a look at this little subject. But before I move on, what was quite interesting as I was sitting listening to the first presentations this morning, or this afternoon actually, about the customer journey, digital transformation, it took me back to my very, very first job in travel. I'm not going to tell you how long ago that was. I kind of lost count of the years. But I was actually based working overseas for a UK tour operator, where one of my prime objectives as an overseas representative was actually promoting tours, trips, and activities and experiences to customers coming to visit the destination. However, in order to do that, I had to write out a ticket in a ticket book with a carbon copy and take payment with a credit card machine, a swiper. And then I moved on from that environment to work with one of the larger OTAs. I actually worked for Expedia for a while, focused more on hotels and accommodation, and now almost full circle find myself back with tours, trips, experience, and activities, but this time very much on the online world. So targeting more visitors and new markets. We looked at earlier today, there are many ways that that can happen, whether it is offline or direct. But in this particular session, I'm going to be talking a little bit more about that online place, and particularly from sort of online platforms and online travel agents. So there's a lot out there. You probably recognize the large majority of these companies, and they actually do have quite a lot in common, right? One, they're already online, and they specialize in going out to reach these new markets on a global marketplace, being able to get in touch and contact with customers that maybe you haven't gotten in contact with. So when you're looking at targeting new markets and new destinations, is really thinking, am I actually getting to all of the customers that I want to today? And if you're not, well then, let's have a conversation and see how we can help you in order to do that. So there's that commonality, but I will follow that up in terms of individuality as well. Each of these platforms, they do offer different things out in the marketplace to suppliers and also to customers and consumers. It could be differences in strengths or differences in markets or in terms of the way that they present a product. So it really is worth a while of investigating a little bit further, investing a bit of your time to really understand what is it that they can do for you. Yeah, you want these guys, including us, to work for you. So find out what it is that you're really looking for and look at what those different operators can offer. And then coming back to something that we all have in common, whether it's an online operator and with yourselves, is the customer. It's all about giving them that amazing experience. We looked at the customer journey, but then, once they've actually discovered the product, booked it, they're on their way, well then it's on the way to have the most amazing experiences with you, and making sure that their memory and their time spent in destination is actually one of the best of their lives. That's what creates stories. That's what creates so many memories for everybody along the way. So in order to look a little bit further into sort of how you can maximize your online partners, we thought hard about some of the key areas that we wanted to talk with you about today. And we bucketed it into these three key sections. So the first one, I've mentioned it already, is reaching more customers. So customers that you may not perhaps be able to get in touch with or connect with directly yourselves today. The second part is then growing your markets, growing your products. It's fine to go and reach customers, but then you actually want them to book, come, discover, and experience. So we'll take a little look a bit further at that. And then the last piece is gaining insights. A lot of our online operators, and in our experience, this is something that we can really add value to your business, to be able to provide lots of data, lots of information, to turn into insight that, well, it really could help towards whether it's your future strategy roadmap, or whether it's developing new products, thinking about different languages. We were at WTM over the last couple of days, and I think the most commonly asked question when I asked our suppliers, what can we provide to you? Can you tell me where my customers are coming from? Well, yes, I can tell you not only where your customers are coming from, but their booking window, sort of their average spend. There's an awful lot of information that we can share with you to help you as you develop further. So I'm now going to pass over to Hugo, who's going to dig just a little bit deeper into these first three areas. Hugo.
Thank you, Joe. Perfect. So how do we reach customers? How can we make your product more discoverable on the world of online? So first of all, there's a lot of things we do online, but we focus on three key things here. The first one is online marketing campaigns. So we've heard customers actively look for things online ahead of their trips. We've heard how they're looking at their mobiles, they're searching for inspiration on social media, on places like Google, and etc. We can create ad campaigns, marketing campaigns, to reach those customers. If they go onto Google and search things to do in Scotland, or more specifically, distillery tours, Harry Potter tours, whatever it is the interest they're looking for, we can create campaigns to reach those customers and bring them to relevant products, your product. And that's done not only in Scotland, but actually globally. So if customers are searching in Japan or Germany or whatever it is, we can reach those customers for you. Secondly, affiliate partners. So what you find is that a lot of these online platforms don't just promote your product on their own direct channels, but actually we partner with a lot of other travel companies out there. This could be airlines, hotels, travel agents, bloggers, etc., to also distribute your products to their channels too. So I'll give you a couple of examples. I booked a flight recently to New York for Christmas, and I got an email from the airline, Norwegian, to tell me about the flight, the flight details. On the email, I had a little banner to say, hey, I can see you going to New York. Have you thought about doing things once you get there? Click on the link, it gives me a full list of products and things to book in New York. Just making customers aware of things even before they left their home country. And same thing in, for example, hotels. I went to Manchester recently, and I checked in at the hotel, logged into the Wi-Fi, and as I log into the Wi-Fi, I get a little banner to say, hey, have you thought about doing things in the city? And show me the top activities in the city. And with affiliate partners, we aim to reach customers at every single step of their travel journey. Thirdly, travel brands. If you go back to one of the first slides we had here with the different logos of travel brands, those are all pretty strong brands with millions of customers using them every single month. Going to their websites, using their mobile apps, reading their inspiration newsletters, to take advantage of those, because customers are often loyal to these brands, and the next trip, they'll pull out their app, and they'll make the entire plans and itinerary with one of these channels. Grow new markets. How do we grow these new markets? How do we grow international? How do we reach these people? Well, the very first thing we do is help them understand your product. We talk to them in their own local language. We translate your amazing activities in a way they can understand it. And not only understand it, but actually book it on their own local currency and payment methods. Second thing here is customer reviews. I'm sure you all have strong brands in Scotland, and customers know you and come to you. When you look at globally, customers might have no idea what things there are to do in Scotland. Might have never heard of you before. And customer reviews can really help build trust in your product and create a reputation not only in Scotland, but actually globally for your products. And then booking experience. Doesn't matter if customers are booking on their mobile phones, tablets, they're booking months ahead or in Scotland, booking for tomorrow or this evening. It's creating a very simple, safe, user-friendly experience to book all their travel activities. And what we see is that customers often don't just book one thing with us, they'll actually book the entire trip with online platforms. And then insights. Now, if you're looking at how to reach these new customers, how do we reach international markets? Well, the very first thing is to understand them to begin with. Understand the customer. Who are they? What are they looking for? Where they're coming from is some of the areas where we focus a lot of time and resources on, and we can absolutely work with you to understand and really reach those markets. And I suppose not only understanding the customer, but also understanding the online side of the business. How well does your product perform online? How does it compare with other similar products? Once customers looking at your pages, how likely are they to book it? What's working, what isn't? You can partner those areas together to make sure you get the most visibility and bookability online. And then local contacts. I'm one for Get Your Guide. I focus on Scotland. Leverage us. Most online platforms will give you account managers, local contacts to work with you very closely, understand your business objectives, and to focus on growing your business online and reaching those markets. Leverage us to gain insights and partner in the long term. So now I'll hand over back to Joe to kind of, a few final thoughts and conclude our session.
Thanks, Hugo. It's one of my favorite pictures. This really kind of sums it up, as the sky is the limit in my book. There is so much opportunity out there. As we heard from some of the presentations earlier today, the opportunity is huge out there in terms of online capability, bookability, discoverability. And the one thing that, again, having worked in this area from my experience so far, is take the time to really ask us lots of questions, your counterparts from other online operators, and really leverage what opportunity is out there for you. Again, going back to the question right at the very beginning, are you reaching the markets? Are you reaching the customers that you really want to? And if you're not, then partner with people that do have that reach and can access some of those markets that perhaps you may not be able to do so on your own. So I hope that's given a little bit of an idea of some of the potential. There is so much more, and I know there's a lot of other really great sessions going on this afternoon. We'd love to take some questions. However, for the moment, I'm going to hand over to Peter, who is your industry operator, to share a few more insights from his perspective.
Kick the bucket. Hello guys, my name's Peter Syme. I run some operators in Scotland, inbound operations, splash whitewater rafting, Persia paintball. I've also run inbound operations in Morocco and Spain, and I also have an outbound operation that goes globally all around the world. I'm also lucky enough to work with hundreds of operators each year all around the world, both at the operation level, plus all these tech companies that are outside. I consult to them, and also operate with some really large operators who have millions of customers. So I have a perspective from the operator's perspective across quite a wide range. Now, historically, when I was asked to talk about how to work with OTAs, and I get asked a lot to do this, I used to focus on the actual how do you work with OTAs, what is the process you go through. But through learning from myself and speaking to hundreds of operators, there's some things you really need to consider before you go anywhere near an OTA if you're not already working with them. The first one is you need to understand your business. And you might be sitting there saying, well, we run a business, we've been doing it for 10 years. Of course I understand my business, understand it inside out. In my experience, not just in Scotland, but globally, most operators, and particularly small operators, do not understand their business. They understand the business from a delivering to the customer brilliantly. And Scottish operators deliver to the customer on the experience better than anywhere else in the world. That's not my opinion, that's TripAdvisor's data. We score higher on the review level than anybody else in the world at the delivery point. But to understand your business, you need to understand the finances behind the business, your cost of acquisition of a customer, your conversion rate of a customer, your gross profit of the customer. I asked over 100 operators last week in America, what gross profit do you give to the OTA? How many answered? None. Everybody could tell me the revenue they gave to the OTA, whether it was 15%, 20%, 25%. Not one could tell me how much the gross profit was giving to the OTA. You need to understand your gross profit before you start working with OTAs. You can't work on revenue. Understand your customers. This is not sucking eggs here. You need to understand your customers because there's over 120 different OTAs and there's going to be 250 soon, and they all work with different segments. Therefore, you want to work with the OTAs that works with your customer segment. You cannot possibly work with them all. You haven't got the bandwidth to do it. You're going to have to select the ones you want to do it, and you want the ones that's aligned with your business to understand your customers. And all of us, a lot of the time I hear operators saying, well, all customers are my customers. No, they're not. My outbound business does not have any customers who have kids. The reason being, it's very long trips. Therefore, anybody with 2 young kids hasn't got the time to go on them. So I'm pre-kids and post-kids. Each of us should have a customer persona for our business. You need to understand that inside out and then find the OTAs that's targeting these customers. OTAs bring one thing and one thing only to your business. They will find customers you can't find. No matter how good you are at direct marketing, OTAs will be able to bring customers that you can't find because they have the reach and the expertise to do it that none of us will ever get. Understand your direct business inside out. When I say direct business, there's the big G word, Google, that expands above everybody else, above all the OTAs. Google, at this stage, is your friend. Before you go near OTAs, you need to understand Google inside out, because if you do, it's going to drive direct business to you, and you need that direct business as well as the OT business. So understand Google, because that will give you an insight to your customer base, give you an insight into your business, so you can actually work with these guys. Understand local distribution. What am I talking about local distribution? Scotland's a tiny little country. We all sort of know each other. You work with partners. I work with transport companies. I work with hotels. I work with restaurants. I work with bars. Local distribution in local networks is incredibly effective. And there's a financial reason about why it's incredibly effective as well. If there's commercial considerations, I'm paying Hotel X 20%, that money is recirculated into the economy because it helps them reinvest in their business and it helps them pay the wages. In the best world, I've been working with these guys, and I've been working with these guys for over 10 years. What I give them doesn't recirculate into the Scottish economy. It goes elsewhere. It's the same if I'm working with Expedia, Book and Trip. So really understand your local networks and build your local networks, because that gives you the knowledge to be able to then step and work with these guys with confidence. Once you've got all of that and you really know it and you know your numbers, it's now time to work with the OTAs. So we've gone round quite a process, and it can take each business maybe a short period of time or a long period of time to get to the point of working with OTAs. First question is, which OTA? There is lots that's been highlighted, so you align with OTAs that align with your business, but you've also got to take into consideration the reach of the OTAs. Who has the most reach? Now, you don't need to be a genius with that. Any 5 minutes on Google, you'll find the top names: TripAdvisor, Booking, Expedia, Airbnb. These guys, if you're particularly into activities and experiences, find the ones with reach, because they're the ones that's going to help bring business, but also find the ones that are niche. I work with OTAs that are not brand names, they're not very big, but they bring me business each year because they're specifically focused on the niche that I'm working in. I'm just going to jump back to numbers again, because this is important. There's 5 drivers in the economy. In any economy, there is 5 drivers. We'll use the chairs. This one's commodities, that one's product, that one's services, that one's the experience economy, and that one's transformational economy. Everything it digitalizes, and you can't stop digitalizing happening, it will happen. So it doesn't matter what your product is or what your service is, this push to online, which is going to speed up and continue, makes everything push down to the service, product, commodity. That's just what happens with being online. So 30 years ago, you got a flight, it was an experience. Today, a flight is not an experience. Again, 20 years ago, you got a hotel, and it might have been an experience. If there's any hotelers in here, sorry, but most hotels these days aren't an experience. At best, they're a service, maybe a product, and some are actually down at the commodity. Why is that important? Because when people make a consideration to buy something, this lot save them time. It's all about being efficient. I'm about to travel to 3 countries in the next couple of weeks. I'm interested in efficiency. What flights are going to get me there efficiently? What hotels are closest to where I'm working efficiently? It's not about necessarily experience. When you're in this model, it is about volume and making the most efficient business model you can. Now, a lot of us in this room are over here in the experience economy. Why is that important? One, we're lucky to be in it, but the experience economy is not about being efficient. It's about spending your time well. So you're investing money, not to save time, like down there, but to spend your time well. Now, that is incredibly important because when you realize that you're investing to spend your time well, you can increase the value. You can put the price up because people will spend more to invest their time well than they will just to be efficient. Remember, the pressurization of digital tries to take everything down here. But if it goes down there, what happens is your experience ends up being a service, then a product, then a commodity. And what happens then is all about price. It's a comparison engine on the search, and the person is looking at one walking tour versus another walking tour versus another walking tour, and it's all about price. So we have this balance to make that we want to stay here, but we do accept that digitalization is happening. So when you're working with OTAs, you're looking to create a product message and a product content that is not about price. Because if it all comes just about price, we're all going to lose. It needs to be about value. You can add value. And away around here, at the transformational economy, which is not even really developed yet, this is about those experiences. They tend not to be 1 day, 3 day, 2 or a week. That's when people really do something that actually changes their life. They're engrossed in it. Education sits in here in a lot of cases because it does something that changes their life. And more in travel, people are starting to invest in life-changing decisions around here. And when you get to here, price is not the issue. It is not the issue. It is a consideration, but it's number 6 or 7 on the consideration list. When you're at flights or hotels, price is up there at number 1 or number 2. So when you're working with OTAs, you have to really look at the product, what they're already selling, what your product is, how to match it, understand that they're going to give you a reach that you cannot do. They will reach people that you cannot reach. I work with them because I don't want to set up marketing efforts in Holland and Germany and France because I haven't got the bandwidth to do that. These guys can do that and they can bring customers to you. But you need to understand your business model to take the right number of customers from them, not the wrong number of customers from them, because they can be bad for your business if you get your business model wrong. That's my business, or my inbound business in Scotland anyway. So 82% of my business is direct business. I'm not saying this is the model, because for some operators in here, you could reverse this. You could turn it upside down, and it would still be right, because we're all different and we're all running different models. But for my model, I have to be a maximum 80%, a minimum, 80% direct. Otherwise, my numbers are not going to work. I'm going to have to put my prices up. Local distribution is the next part that's important to me, because I want to work with all of you in the room, and I want to work with all my local people and add money back into the economy. But then there's a bit at the top that I can't reach. And if I have a raft going down the river with 8 customers on it, instead of 10 customers on it, then there's 2 empty seats. And these guys can fill them 2 empty seats. So why wouldn't I work with them if they're going to fill them 2 empty seats? Because I can't reach the people that can all the time. They're helping. So that's a yield filler into my business that makes my business more profitable if managed correctly. Now, when I say that could be reversed, if I was in Edinburgh and running bus tours, the city buses going round, that's probably reversed. It's upside down. Because they ain't got the reach direct, because nobody really searches well in advance for a city bus tour. They buy it when they're in destination within that 48 hours, sometimes within the hour. That's going to be reversed. Most of their distribution is going to be through partners. So they obviously have to understand the business model, because that means a big chunk of their revenue and their gross profit is going to the partners to get it. And they're probably not investing as much in direct business. So each individual business is unique in this industry. You need to understand your business, find the partners that are aligned with your business. Don't try and work with 120 or the 200 of them. You won't be able to do that. Find the ones that you want to work with. Start with 1, move to 2, move to 3, and then there's work with that, by the way, just before I go on. There is a lot of work involved with working with OTAs, because there's a lot of content to be uploaded, has to be updated. You have to audit it every year to make sure it's correct. So there is work involved. This is not free business. These guys don't just go out and get you loads of business. There is work involved. So you need the bandwidth to be able to work with them. But that means for most of us in the small business sector, you pick 2 or 3, maximum 5 that you're going to work with, and you try and work with them well rather than working with 120. Just one point on that 120. One of the benefits of working with the major OTAs, and if you put them in a bracket of 5 or 6, you may not know it, but you are actually working with 120 OTAs. because these guys will redistribute your product because they've done partnerships with multiple other windows. So you might see your product on an airline or another platform that you've never done a contract with. But you've done a contract with these guys or Trip or Booking, and they will recirculate your product onto another platform. So working with the right OTAs can give you a ginormous reach that I certainly couldn't do on my own. And that is it. And we're going to take questions now, I believe. Yeah. So questions? Must be some.
What do you think of Airbnb's push into the attraction sector?
Airbnb is very unique because they're coming at it from a completely different way from other OTAs. And it's very brand-led. They have a brand equity that's off the scale that no other OTA has because they've built it. The fact that we say we're booking an Airbnb, the brand is in our language, they have a unique advantage that not many OTAs have. They also have quite deep pockets that's allowing them to experiment without making any profit for quite a long time. I work with OTA customers. They are a distributor for me. I've personally interviewed 200 OTA customers, and I think they'll probably be one of the most successful in the sector by a long way because their brand equity is off the chart. The customer is not finding them for experiences. The customer is finding them for accommodation, but they trust them, and they're switching them to experiences very, very simply. And the feedback from the customers, from Airbnb customers I've spoke to, is hugely complimentary, better than I've ever seen. I qualify all this. It's quite difficult for an operator to work with Airbnb. And quite difficult, when I say quite, I don't mean quite, I mean bloody difficult to work with Airbnb as an operator, profitably. Not because of the commission levels or anything like that, it's to do with the terms and conditions that they impose on operators. That they're going to have to change that if they want to scale it up going forward.
Should the mix be the same all year round, or do you think that that should change depending on your business?
It's every business should know their business, and some businesses actually shut in the winter. There'll be people who actually close down, so they work for their season. If you do the full season, the mix is going to change, and you want to use the OTAs to get business when you've not got business, but do you really? Again, that comes back to knowing your business, because if you're running trips and they can help you fill the yield on them, yes, of course you want to do it. But if you have to run trips just for OTA customers and you've not got any other customers, you need to know your numbers well enough to make sure you're making any money by doing that. Can I come back to my very front point that operators don't normally get? How much gross profit does working with an OTA cost you? In my personal case, for my inbound, over half my profit goes to the OTA. Over half. So if I filled my trips with OTAs, I ain't in business for very long. So, but that, other business models, that can be perfectly fine. And they can have 80, 90, I know operators have got 80, 90% of their volume with OTAs, and they've got a business and they're making money. So it just depends on the model of your business.
And I think I'd add to that as well. I mean, obviously the profitability from a business side of things, but I've seen some really interesting case studies that we've worked with certain partners where, for example, they have particular time slots during a day. You know, they have a very, very busy time of the morning where perhaps a lot of coach operators come through at the same time, and maybe the afternoon is maybe not so much, there's a lot more availability. And we've worked very closely with them to see how we can help drive that traffic during those lower periods as well. So it's a day that they're open anyway, so you don't have that sort of operating cost decision making to do. But again, we can drill right down to a time slot, you know, adjustment, as opposed to kind of a whole seasonal adjustment at the same time. And again, it's understanding the supplier's business and the experience business that we're talking with, and what tools we have to be able to partner with them to help in those more difficult parts of the time of the day, year, week, whatever. Yeah.
Just on, I did say there's one main thing that OTAs bring, and that's bringing you customers that you can't reach. But there is a second thing that I should have pointed out, and it's a developing thing. This is really early doors. These guys have access to more data than any of us will ever have, and they have huge amounts of it that's growing year on year on year. they also have access to a huge amount of talent and engineers and software and machine learning and AI that none of us are going to have. Therefore, the knowledge that that data is telling them, they're obviously using to improve their own business. But some of them, like Get Your Guide, are actually coming back to the operators and telling the operator, the data is telling us this. And if you're one of them lucky operators, that's gold. Because normally an operator hasn't got enough bandwidth, even with my own data, I'm pretty weak at it, we gather tons of it, but actually doing anything with it, we don't have the bandwidth in-house to be able to really analyze our data to make it into something meaningful. These guys do. And then they push back down on the operator and say, do you know if you do this, this, and this, this happens? Now that's gold for a small operator.
Yeah, absolutely.
Any other questions? Yep.
Sure.
Talk about selecting, quite a key volume of QTAs to work with. Can you tell us about your experience in linking up your availability across those different platforms?
Yep. Yeah, I'll summarise it and then I'll expand. Painful's the summary. There's no way getting around that. I'm hoping it's going to improve, but linking up, getting the connections, getting the content up there, getting a relationship developed is all quite painful. There's a reason for that. These guys are scaling at all of them are scaling very rapidly. At the moment, they only have 10% of the market, but they're fastest growing in the market. So they're scaling rapidly. They also have the data to tell them who's the really important partners, like who's the high volume, who's the ones that's selling, where they're located, city centre, rural. So they're going to have to prioritize in-house on who they're going to work with and who wants to. Going forward, it's going to get a lot easier because of technology, but at the moment, if you're working with OTAs, in some way or other, you're hooking up to multiple intranets, again, which I take the mickey at them all the time because I was using intranets in 1999. Again, you would think we'd have moved on from intranets, but we're still loading up intranets. A lot of the res systems that are out there in the foyer now have API connections into there, so you can put all your stuff in the res systems, and it's connected in real time, so you're only updating your prices in one location, only updating your availability in one location that's pulling through electronically, but your content, pictures, write-ups, stuff like that, that is still a manual process, and that comes with a cost. And I'm not saying it's easy because it's quite time-consuming. You then have an audit responsibility. Every year, you're going to have to find out where all that content is. Is it correct? Because OTAs, by definition, won't take what you write and stick it on the market. They'll rewrite it because they want to write it in a way that's going to get traffic for you and the way the SEO is going to work, and you don't want the same piece of content on 20 different OTAs. So all gets garbled by them, but you're going to want to check that because they might miss some things that are really, really important from a location, from a safety point of view. There's a whole host of reasons that they may miss, so you have an audit capability. So I'm not saying working with OTAs is a press and play and it's easy. It comes with quite a lot of work. But it still comes back to the point, they can get you customers that you can't. It would be more work to set up a whole marketing effort to target Germany. So it is a balance.
Yeah, and I think it goes back to what we were talking about earlier is yes, you do need to invest a little bit of time sort of learning about each of the different operators or the key ones that you're looking to work with. And again, I can speak from my experience with Get Your Guide. I joined just over 2 years ago, and the conversation was almost not just starting, but it was starting to gain some momentum about our suppliers getting connected through an API or through a reservation system, et cetera, et cetera. When I see how fast that has grown in the last 18 months, 2 years, it's incredible. And I look at the investment that I'm sure across all of those platforms, but I know with ourselves, to try to make that process so much more seamless for our suppliers. So, for example, we implemented a self-mapping tool earlier on in the year, which means a supplier, if they're working with one of our connected SRSs, they can go and do it in the back-end system, and it's really, really simple. It's already tested, et cetera, et cetera. So we're working as much as possible to make it as easy and as seamless as possible. And then looking at the content side of things as well. Again, it's an investment. But a lot of the work and some updates, for example, again on our back office system that we've done, is to help our suppliers provide the information which will enable that discovery piece and provide the information that a customer is looking for. Not necessarily, I'll have to say it, not necessarily what the supplier or you or I want to say. What's the customer looking for? What will help make them make that decision, have that confidence to know, yeah, this is the right thing for me. So yes, there is that ownership to make sure that we keep that updated, but again, we try and make it as easy as possible, so it's not just a blank piece of paper that you need to think about, gosh, do I have to write a 5-page essay in here? It's really getting targeted, again, to help with that discoverability. So, yeah.
There is some technology not coming down the line, it's here, and it's been in the hotel industry for years as well. At the moment, we've been working with res systems, and you have to upload them. You're uploading to each individual OTA. But in the hotel industry, they've had things called channel managers for decades, and new channel managers are coming into this industry, which will make it much easier from a distribution point of view. From a content perspective, there is new software coming in where you load all your visual content, your media, your writing up into one place, and again, it does a distribution to all the different platforms. So there is new stuff coming on the market all the time. That makes this stuff a bit easier, but at the moment, I would be lying if I said it's not painful. It is painful at the moment. And it's one of the things that there's billions, literally billions of dollars being invested in this industry, $2 billion in the last 2 years. Lots of that's going to technology to make all of this stuff easier, because they know it's a block on being able to get all of us to work better. So a lot of the investment at the moment is going in to make this stuff easier. But at the moment, I've got to say it is still quite painful, especially if you're small and you've not got a massive team of people to work on it all the time. It is. Go back to content, and I'm as guilty as everybody else. A lot of us see content as a pain because of the amount we have to write and upload and maintain and put in all these different platforms. You have to change that view going forward. Your content is going to become a strategic weapon. The people who update their content, maintain their content, and have it on the right places, you're going to be able to reach much more customers quickly, working with partners, because you have your content ready to go at all times. And I'm not there yet as an operator. I'm a million miles away from there. We're still auditing it once a year rather than constantly. We're getting wound up.
We're getting told to leave, yeah.
Did you feel that bossy hat coming on of mine when I snuck up there and said, so thank you very much. I think it was really informative, and people will have got loads and loads of advice.